Hey friends, this is the second part of the lesson that I did a little bit earlier. That was a the Reader's Digest version of the Reader's Digest version of the history of Israel, if you know what I mean. We could spend literally months going over the history of Israel, but that's not our purpose here. Our purpose is just to give an introduction to the New Testament. And having said all that, I am also going to make an apology for what it is that you are about to hear and see. If I waited until I could produce an impressive, slick presentation of where Israel is, then we would be waiting a long time, and that's not the purpose, my purpose anyway, here at all. So I'm apologizing up front for the Mickey Mouse production, but my prayer is that you will find it useful as we go through the New Testament. So here I have four maps to present to you, and I'm going to do it as best I can and speak over them. So here goes. All right. So this first map is a map of the countries of North Africa that are located along the Mediterranean's southern coast. So if you look at them from west to east, which would be from your left to right, you'll see Algeria is there in the orange, and Libya is in the pink. Egypt is in the yellow. And then east of Egypt, or to the right of Egypt, across the Red Sea in tan, is Saudi Arabia. Between those two countries, if you look way up where they join, there's a sort of a tonsil-like peninsula, and that's the Sinai Peninsula. And then north and a little bit east of the Sinai Peninsula, along the east coast of the Mediterranean Sea, that's Israel. What do you got? You can't see it? You really can't see it? All right, then let's zoom in. Here's my second map. Hang in there with me. All right. So here's the second map, and this is a map of a zoom in of what it was that we were just looking at. It's the tan area that you see to the west is Egypt and the other countries of the northeast coast of Africa, basically Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The prominent purple country that you see there is Saudi Arabia, which we saw on the other map, which is separated from Egypt by the Red Sea. And at the very top of the Red Sea, you'll see that tan tonsil. That's the Sinai Peninsula. And in green is Jordan, which is the neighboring country to the east of Israel. And then that skinny orangey pink strip along the Mediterranean Sea, that's Israel. And look at the size of Israel compared to Saudi Arabia. Look at it compared to Iraq, which is in the orange, and Iran, that's in the pink. If you look even further over to the east, you'll see a body of water that separates Saudi Arabia from Iran, and that is the Persian Gulf. Moving on to my third map. I chose this map as actually more of a drawing as opposed to a map. But the reason that I chose it is, first of all, because it's very difficult to find a map that covers all of Israel, because Israel is a long, skinny country. And so it's kind of difficult to show any detail on a map of Israel. So that's why I chose it. And not only that, but because it's a relatively simple, and it shows the shape of Israel. I kind of think of Israel as sort of shaped like a wonky, lopsided triangle. And I'm going to point out some things, and then I'll cover them more when I can set the maps aside and we can go into the geography of Israel. But note the coast on this map. Note the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. See how smooth it is? It's really very, very smooth. We don't see any kind of peninsulas or harbors or bays or anything that we would usually expect to see along the coast of such a large body of water. And there's a reason for that. Because of the action of the Mediterranean Sea, the silt is deposited along the coastline. And so there are actually, and never have been, or haven't been for many, many, many centuries, any natural harbors along the Israeli coast. Anything that has been a harbor has been dredged deliberately, designed, engineered, and constructed for that purpose. Note the Red Sea at the very, very tip. You can barely even see it at the very tip, southern tip of Israel. That is a town of Eilat, and Eilat is when you're standing in Eilat, you can actually see the borders that go into both Egypt and into Jordan. So if you're going to the Mount Sinai, that would be a good place for you to, and then you're going to go to see Baby Petra in Jordan. That's usually where the send-off point is. Note the two bodies of water along the east coast. East coast, yes. Look at the two bodies of water along the east coast. The Sea of Galilee up in the north, and the Dead Sea further south. The fact of the matter is, you can drive from the southern border of the Sea of Galilee to the northern border of the Dead Sea. You can do it in a little bit more than an hour. They're only separated by 65 miles, but the Jordan River that connects them takes 135 miles to get there, almost twice as long. The Jordan River is said to meander. In some places, it even seems to cross over itself. It's a very unique river, very different from the other rivers of the Middle East. When we think of the Nile River in Egypt that overflows its banks and provides fertile land for the Egyptians to plant crops to feed their population, or even the Tigris and the Euphrates in Iraq, it is a relatively flat area. Not so with the Jordan River, and we'll get into more of that when we actually do our next lesson on geography. The Jordan's headwaters, or source, is a little brook north of the Sea of Galilee at Mount Hermon, which is the highest elevation in Israel. It's 9,232 feet above sea level. And then the Jordan meanders down into the Sea of Galilee and out of the Sea of Galilee and down into the Dead Sea, which is 1,400 feet below sea level. From 9,200 feet above sea level, it flows down to 1,400 feet below sea level. The Dead Sea is actually the lowest place on the surface of the globe, on the surface of the earth. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into our next lesson. The Dead Sea is truly a dead end. There's no outlet from the Dead Sea. So the Jordan River flows into it, and that's where the waters from the Jordan River stay. You'll notice that on the map that there above the Dead Sea and to the west, there's a cluster of black dots. And those black dots indicate where Jerusalem and Bethlehem are. And then north of there, you'll see another cluster of dots, and that's where Nazareth and the city of Nain and Mount Tabor are. And of course, they are names that are familiar in the New Testament. The last map that I'm going to show you is one that's a little probably more familiar to us when we're looking at maps of Israel, and it kind of eliminates the very northern reaches and eliminates the southern reaches and focuses more on the central area. And again, we will talk more about the geography of this area when we get into our lesson on geography. But this is what we usually see. And especially if the intention is to depict the land during the time of Jesus. The focus is on the land of the north, which is called Galilee, the area that surrounds the Sea of Galilee. That's where much of the ministry of Jesus took place, especially the ministries that are recorded by the synoptic gospel writers. The land of the south is called Judea. That's where Jerusalem and Bethlehem are located. And Jesus did spend the very early days of his ministry in Judea. And of course, that is where he went to complete his ministry when he entered into Jerusalem. And in the middle there is the area that's called Samaria. And that is the area, the middle land there, that was avoided by the Jews when they had to travel between Galilee and Judea because they considered it to be unclean, because it was occupied by a population that they considered to be, at best, half-breeds. And so they didn't travel through that area. And that's indicated a number of times in the New Testament passages. So as we continue with the book of the study of geography in our next lesson, you may want to open up your, if you don't have an atlas that would show you this Israel, you might want to open up your study Bible and go to the back where there would be some maps that would indicate maybe Paul's missionary journeys or whatever. And there should be a map there that will kind of show you the areas that we are going to be talking about. So I'm going to close this lesson for now, and I'll see you next time when we're talking about the geography of Israel. Bye for now.